I'm Miss Hadi from Olympian High School, and we'll be using the Traditions and Encounters textbook, Chapter 12, to learn about the spread of Christianity. This is part of a larger unit of study where we've been looking at the classical period, classical societies. So by that I mean societies that existed between 600 BCE and 600 CE, using the Traditions and Encounters textbook, looking at chapters 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and finally this chapter, Chapter 12. If you don't recall what Christianity is, the origins of Christianity and the religions of salvation that preceded it, like we talked about Mithraism, go back to chapter 10 and take a minute to re-immerse yourself in this early knowledge about Judaism and early Christianity, how they were treated during the early times of the Roman Empire, because that is going to change. And you'll learn about early Christian communities and how they were treated, how they had campaigns of persecution against them, and that despite this repression, they still continued to flourish. So you have to learn about that basic information before you can learn about something spreading. How did it start? What was its origin? Okay, so if you recall the information from chapter 10, you feel confident there, then we can proceed. You know that the Romans often persecuted intermittently, every once in a while, the Christian communities. There were a couple of reasons. Sometimes the Christians refused to observe state cults. Sometimes they saw the Christians as irreligious, because that means not religious, irreligious, because they refused to participate in state-approved religious ceremonies. And sometimes they saw Christians as being sort of a menace to society because of some of the most zealous or passionate, ardent Christian missionaries sometimes had fights or conflicts with other religious groups. But despite that, Christian communities and Christian ideology continued to spread, and largely because of the Roman roads, the Roman network of roads and sea lanes. So you can think of that as a cause, one of the causes for the spread of Christianity. Now, when we're talking about Christianity in the Mediterranean basin, we're talking about the areas around the Mediterranean Sea. So mostly, like if we're talking about the north of the Mediterranean, Europe mostly, okay? But we're also going to look later at Christianity in Southwest Asia, which we can think of largely as being what we would think of as the Middle East, or parts where many Arabs occupy today, other groups as well, not just Arabs, but this is what we think of as like the part of the Arab world or the Middle East. And what we'll see is there's two very different kinds of Christianity that emerge here. So what helps Christianity to spread? Largely really passionate missionaries like Paul of Tarsus, missionaries like a man named Gregory the Wonder Worker. Gregory the Wonder Worker was a missionary that was very popular in Anatolia, which is now called Turkey. And people alive at the same time as him, his contemporaries, reported or claimed that not only did he preach Christian doctrine well, but supposedly he also did things like expel demons and move boulders and divert rivers. Now, I'm not saying you need to believe in these supernatural things, but these were some of the things that people at that time reported and believed. Now, it doesn't mean that it's true. I'm not telling you what to believe. You can believe whatever you like, but it's because of these missionaries that then you all should already remember learning about Paul of Tarsus in chapter 10, and about his importance for the spread of Christianity. Make sure you go back and learn about him. These are some of the reasons that help explain why Christianity became an enormously popular religion, and that by the late 3rd century CE, so the 200s, we see Christian communities all over the Mediterranean basin, so places like Turkey or Anatolia, Syria, Palestine, and around North Africa as well, North Africa, Egypt, Greece, Italy, Spain, and Gaul, which of course has another name, which is France. Now, let's look at how Christianity becomes prominent in Southwest Asia as well, beyond the Mediterranean. Here's the thing. By the 2nd century CE, which is the 100 CE, there was a group of Christians. So here, this is a good map that shows you different religions that are spreading. So we've already talked in another video about the spread of Buddhism, the direction that Buddhism spread. You see it spreading to China and Southeast Asia. Here we're talking about the spread of Christianity towards the Mediterranean region, and now I'm going to tell you about its spread towards Southwest Asia and beyond, even towards India. Okay, and then later we'll look at the spread. We actually already did talk about the spread of Hinduism, but we'll also talk about Manichaeism. Anyway, so we're going to see Christian communities spread beyond the Mediterranean regions, and especially in the area that we think of as the Middle East or Southwest Asia today, aside from Jews and Zoroastrians, Christians are going to maintain pretty large religious communities, even after a very popular faith called Islam becomes a prominent faith in that region. They will continue. There will be the persistence of and the maintenance of this faith in these religious communities in Southwest Asia. Okay, so Christian communities in Mesopotamia and Iran influence practices in the Roman Empire. So before I talk about Southwest Asia and sort of what they believe and how they follow the beliefs of Nestorius and believed in emphasize the human instead of the divine aspect of Jesus's of who Jesus was, let's talk about the fact that people in Southwest Asia, the way they practice their Christian faith is going to inspire and influence people back in the Mediterranean, so the Roman Empire. The people of Southwest Asia were often inspired by ascetic practices that they learned about from India, which is South Asia. So in South Asia, they have these religious faiths that are all about abstaining from things like excess food or sex or other, having basically luxuries and trying to deny themselves some of these things so that they can focus on spiritual aspects rather than material aspects, these other comforts. And these practices were inspirational to people of Southwest Asia. And then those people who withdrew from family life and society sometimes are going to inspire Christians in the Roman Empire. Some of the Christians are even going to start to abandon society and live as hermits in the deserts or on top of mountains. Some of them are going to become part of these communities of like-minded individuals who are completely devoted to God. So this is the really important sentence here. The ascetic practices of Christians living in the lands east of the Roman Empire are going to inspire the formation of Christian monastic compounds in the Mediterranean basin. What does that mean? The way you can think about it is that Christianity traveled to Southwest Asia. In Southwest Asia, they borrowed from the ideas of South Asia, from India, and they mix that with Christianity to get ascetic practices of Christianity. And then that makes its way back to the Mediterranean. And that's where you get Christian monasteries from. Now, we've already learned about Buddhist monasteries and other kinds of monasteries in the past, but this is to help you understand how things change as they move in one direction and then change as they move back. So this is an effect of the sort of mixing of ideas from Southwest Asia and South Asia with Christianity. The last thing I want to tell you about is that Christian communities in Southwest Asia and the Mediterranean are largely going to be very different by the 5th century CE, so the 400 CE. Here's why. Most of the people who are Christians in Southwest Asia are going to become Nestorians. Nestorians are Christians that follow the beliefs of a Greek theologian, a Greek religious scholar named Nestorius, who lived during the 400s, the 5th century CE. And he believed that Jesus was a good human, a wonderful human, but not necessarily a God, that there could only be one God. Now, in the Mediterranean, so think the Roman Empire, Europe, people rejected Nestorius's ideas. So many of the people that believed in Nestorius's ideas left. They migrated or departed and went to Mesopotamia and Iran, where they built huge communities of Christian communities. It's those people that had an effect on Christians in Iran. And to this day, people who are still Christian in Iran tend to have more of these beliefs, that seeing Jesus as human rather than a divine being, believing in Jesus, but as a prophet. So Nestorian Christians are going to spread their faith along the trade routes, and they're going to have very established communities in Central Asia, India, and China. So please make sure you know that the Christians in Southwest Asia differed from Christians in the Mediterranean by the 5th century CE, and be able to recognize the name or the term Nestorian Christian.